I'm ready.
I'm ready. You ready? Jason Lawhead, John Browner. Browner and Lawhead here on the Mighty 1090 ESPN as we celebrate our second anniversary. It's our anniversary. Yeah, yeah. You know, Tony is one of the most underrated bands in the history of musical groups. Have you ever even
Interesting.
heard of Tony?
Oh yeah, come on, bro. Yeah, but that's an
Tony.
interesting take. I just, haven't thought about Tony in a long time,
Right.
But
Tony, along with lead singer Raphael Sadiq. Fantastic band if you guys don't know it. Check out Tony. Love, huge fan. Also a huge fan of Raphael Sadiq, but that's a completely different story. We broke down Netflix's newest. We broke down the Ghost, my girlfriend, or my ex-lover Casper. I don't know what the hell Netflix is calling it. And we also gave you guys some fantasy football advice about who not to draft. And Jason threw in a who to draft. And now we're going to spend a little time here on the Mighty 1090 ESPN. I'm John Browner, joined by the one and only Jason Lawhead, world-renowned comedian. LeBron's new contract, 2 years, $97 million, with the chance for if the salary cap goes up, it can escalate up to 110, which sounds about right. $55 million a year for LeBron James. I mean, it's not really enough, but with a guy like that, there is never enough. That's what the cap exists for. This contract means two things, in my opinion, and I can't wait to hear what Jason thinks about it. One, it allows the Lakers to have stability going forward with him and Anthony Davis. Two, it puts to rest a lot of conversation about what LeBron's going to do every time a reporter puts a camera in his face. Because that was going to be the conversation if he had gone into the season without signing this extension. Every reporter would have been asking, well, where are you going back to Cleveland? Is Miami open? Are you going to play for the Warriors? Like there would have been this hodgepodge of who you're going to play for, where you're going to go all year long. And I think he, along with the team, just didn't need that distraction going into this year. And so I think those are the two most important things that the contract signifies. That's not even a word. Or it shows you. There you go. Shows you. What about you, Jason?
I think you take a couple things away from it. I think still, Laker fans or, people around, the Lakers feel better about this, which they should. But still, at the end of the day, you have these three massive contracts and these guys have to be on the floor together, whether they want, are healthy or they want to take some time off. I mean, it's show us the money, right? Show me the money. This is show us the money now, guys. And it's a 2-year deal with obviously a chance for a third, but what happens to, LeBron's 38 in December, but as we've seen with Brady, as we've seen with other, guys, and now with everything that, he's proven with how he takes care of himself, even at 28, 38.
Different sports, though.
I understand. I'm just saying he's proven himself to be the guy that continues to take care of himself from 28 to 38.
Yes.
And that's my comparison more to Brady is, different sports, different position in the sport, but LeBron still and look, when you look at the last 4 years as a Laker, when you look at those numbers, games played, he's not playing a lot. So yeah, he's getting that money, and so's Westbrook, and so slightly under now, and they AD right underneath Westbrook, but AD, LeBron, they're missing a lot of games as Lakers, and that's going to have to be the thing that changes the most about this contract, because at the end of the day, if LeBron wants to play with Bronny, and LeBron is smart and he's high IQ, he understands that, guess what? I can get away with playing 55, 54, 50, maybe if I'm really actually hurt. I may not play that many, but I don't have to play more than 60 games in a season, and that can stretch me longer and keep another contract this big and bigger, as you mentioned, with the cap coming higher after this, because this puts him at 38 this December, 39 in the December after. And if he stays on for that 30 years, or that third year, it puts him at 40. And if he is going to play these next 3 years as the way Brady has played the last, chunk of those ages, the last 3 and the last 3 before that, basically. He could be around for another big contract. And what's interesting is because he controls all of it with any say, he's the most tradable contract. If the Lakers do get in trouble next year and looking beyond go, this thing is just plundering. It isn't good enough together to get any farther than a first round getting swept or a 1-round win at best. Then he's the most tradable to an option where he can say, send me there. They'll pick up this. You'll get all this back, and so it doesn't rule out that he's a Laker for life. I think he will be. I think it's the smart move for him right now, but it doesn't rule it out if things plunder as they did last year, and if they continue to, because there's no one else to come in to fix this. It's these guys now. They've got to do it, and it's got to be led by LeBron.
I think the thing with LeBron's contract, he's not going anywhere. And I think that for the first time in his career, he doesn't really have a lot of leverage. He doesn't have the youth on his side. He's been hurt more than he's been hurt almost as much as he's been healthy. For the last 2 years, the team has not made the playoffs. So he normally goes into these discussions with the hammer. And I mean like the hammer of Thor. And you're terrified of what he could do and him walking away from you. And for the first time, he's gone into a negotiation with no real leverage. Because a lot of people were saying, oh, well, now this signals that they may be trading for Kyrie because now he's re-signing. And I'm like, oh, or this is where he could make the most money. He chose to come to Los Angeles for the final act of his career because he has more business aspirations than he does on-court aspirations at this point. And so him being on the Lakers is a partnership. The Lakers need him. He needs them. And they're going to continue to move forward as a partner. I think that's what this is. I don't think this is an indication or a signal of anything other than LeBron James wanting to stay in LA because this is the best place for him at this point in time. Because this idea that he's going to go play with Bronny if Bronny ever makes it to that level, I don't think that's going to happen. Not because I don't believe in a kid, because I don't judge children like that. I just think at some point, ownership is more important to him. Because I think that's going to be his next act. And wherever his son plays, he may be the owner of that team.
Sons.
I don't know.
Bryce is better.
Yeah.
Bryce is better.
Right. He's going to be the owner of the team his sons play on more than he will be a teammate of one of them. And so I think this contract signifies more of that than it does anything.
Yeah, and it's the right move. It's the right move. It's the only move because then it just blows up all of the next moves and the telescope on him from not signing this deal would have been bigger all year long. And no matter how the Lakers played, than this one, at least if the Lakers, come out limping, there is at least the belief when he says, hey, we're committed to turning this thing around, then because he did sign this offseason deal. So at least that answer won't be empty when he has to say it if he has to say it. And if they are cruising along and everybody's playing and they're winning, boy, then this contract really looks good. And if, like I said, if it plunders and it feels like there's no breaks to stop this, he's got all the outs if he did want to move. I mean, he does have an itchy foot and it is late in his career. And if he doesn't think the Lakers can offer that title hope, I mean, I never put it past him to say, hey, look, I'm the most tradable option. I'll turn a franchise that's almost there around immediately. You'll get a bunch of stuff in return and you'll have Westbrook off the books or whatever it is. And but I don't think they can make a deal for Kyrie. I just don't see it happening. And if they do, then wow, then they did. And there you go.
I mean, personally, I just think it's time to let that whole Kyrie thing go.
Yeah.
But that's a completely different discussion for another day. But LeBron is signed. He's locked in. But that doesn't stop other people from being stupid. What I'm about to play for you is Pedro Martinez talking about the Fernando Tatis situation. I've queued this up. This is a 2-minute clip. I've queued this up at about 150. I think this is where the Tatis Padre situation gets picked up by him, and then we'll pick it up after that. So here we go. Well, wait, missed the spot. Got to rewind it. Oh,
He's just so chubby now around that face. It's weird.
oh my
Like
God,
his
he looks
neck, and
terrible.
he's got a gullet. Like he looks like a pelican. Like looks like he's got 2 sturgeon in there he's gonna eat later. I mean, that is a pelican gullet underneath there now. That's a weird head he has now.
That neck is not great. Oh, wait, that's a completely different thing. Shout out to Twitter. I don't know. I thought I had it queued up correctly. I guess I didn't.
But he basically blames
stop.
the Padres, is what you know.
So for what you guys didn't hear, he basically says that the Padres should have known that, one, who they were giving the money to, and two, they should have had somebody around him to help him not take the steroids. So this then pushes me towards the question I have to ask a guy like Pedro, or people who believe that this is the Padres' fault, in the same crowd as Pedro. What would they have done? What could they have done? Somebody tell me, what could they have done? Hired a private investigator to follow him around? Like what could they have done to make sure that this guy who fell off a motorcycle at least twice in the offseason, this guy who would not get shoulder surgery when the team told him he's probably best he should do so, and then ended up being popped for steroids? Like, where in the world is the equation that tells you, okay, we're going to hire a private investigator to follow this guy everywhere he goes? Like, that's what it comes down to now?
That still doesn't change behavior.
Right.
I mean, you would only embolden that type of decision-making person to even further their agenda once they feel like they're being, intervened or cut off at the pass for what they're doing. They're being followed, and now they're only going to just take that even more personally. I don't get how it's the Padres' fault. I think possibly the Padres' only fault was the okay about kind of coddle after the bicycle or after the motorcycle incident. I think they should have been firmer and harder, knowing that they were gonna play cards to do whatever they had to do throughout the season. I mean, the idea of going to get Soto and these other players, that doesn't just come up a week before the deadline. That's a hunt. They were on the hunt all
Right.
year long to make this roster better, and knowing that they were going to miss Tatis for as long as they probably were going to miss him, and the more they found out about why they were going to miss him, they had to have been even harsher, in my opinion. Their only fault is they weren't swifter with the condemnation and holding his feet to the fire, and maybe having him, cower a little bit in that and challenge him and say, you know what, if you're going to lash back out and make this us against them, we'll just have to play the game with our arm's length and decide on you later. And then he goes and does this anyway, so now they still have to keep, they're waiting for him instead of deciding on him, and I think that's probably their only fault.
I mean, I guess I am in the wrong class because I don't blame the team at all. This idea that they gave him the money too soon. Here's my question to those people. Who wouldn't have done that?
Right.
The Dodgers would have done it. The Yankees would have done it. The Red Sox would have done it. The Cubs. You name the marquee franchise. Hell, you name the sport. Every team, every single organization would have done it. And then I'm going to take it a step further. Every single organization would have treated him the way that the Padres treated him. They would have given him everything he asked for. They would have made him the face of the franchise. It would have made him the face of the sport. Like, when was the last time the Padres had a guy of that magnitude? Tony Gwynn? Maybe.
But Tony did it in such a, not attention grabbing manner, right? Like,
and that's my whole point. That's my hope. The Padres
you know,
finally had the guy.
He was like Fernando Valenzuela was to the Dodgers. That's when you're like, you have this young guy that has this kind of charisma that plays the game in a way that isn't being played by everyday people. And yes, you lock him up. The Padres did nothing wrong by doing that. They actually
nothing.
No.
They did the right thing. And so for people to now be turning to them and going, you shouldn't have given him all this money. Okay. Who would have? Who wouldn't have? Who would not have done that? There are red flags on guys all the time in the NFL draft. People take them all the time. Same thing happens in the NBA. Red flags. Guys take them all the time. It happens. But when you get a guy with 0 red flags and nothing but upside, you pay him.
Mm-hmm.
And the contract, in actuality, the contract is not expensive. It just sounds big because it's hundreds of millions of dollars, but it's over a decade and some change.
And when he's been on the field, playing, it's obvious that the Padres made the right decision, because when he is on the field and he's playing, he produces and has produced as a Padre. And since that contract was signed, other than getting himself into these types of troubles, but on the field, they've done everything right. Like I said, and I think the only thing they've done wrong, if they've done anything wrong, was probably not, expect more of him, be a little harsher with him on this last one, and get his antennas up and say, you know what, this is a big boy job here. Play by the rules and keep us aware of what your intentions are, and we're going to have our doctors and trainers and people that are rehabbing you to get you back on the baseball field do what they're supposed to do, but you can't go be an idiot. Sorry, that's not on us,
nor should it be. And so I get the people who are defending him. He's your guy. All these Dominican guys who are coming out defending him remind me a lot, and Alex brought this up on the show, and I'm not going to try to conflate the two, but I'm just going to draw a clear correlation. When Michael Vick got busted for the dogfighting, a lot of people in America went, oh my God, how could he do that? A lot of black people went, yeah, and that happens all the dogfighting. It's like a huge thing amongst black people. Like, I don't really get, it's a cultural thing that black people do, similar to cockfighting, and white people like to hunt deer. Like, black people look at white people hunting deer like, why are you doing that? Right. And it's cultural differences. And the fact that they're defending this kid because where they're from, steroids probably isn't seen as a bad thing. Where they're from, their country's so poor, you do whatever it takes to get the $300 million contract. And so if anything, they're like, hey, the kid made it, he got the money. We should be applauding him and hoping that his success generates more revenue for all of us in the game of baseball. I get and I understand those people, and I understand their point of view. That doesn't mean I agree with it at all. 0. And so I as much as I hear what Pedro is saying, the positive and the negative, that doesn't make it the team's fault. It just doesn't. And it doesn't matter how you try to slice it because of your demographic or how you were brought up. It's not the team's fault for enriching you. It's your fault for ruining them, for tainting the money.
Yeah. And maybe, and you're right. There's a lot of hero loyalty, a lot of in that defense. My problem with Pedro's defense is it points the finger somewhere else. It's fine to say, "Hey, look, I'm behind the kid. He made one of these mistakes
right.
That the temptation is so great out there to get back on the field, and the pressure on him. And the team made this trade, and defend him." But also defend him in a way where we're at least putting the responsibility on what and why he did it, right? Like say, hey man, or if you're from a different angle, if you're from a different, hey man, I'm always going to support the kid. He's got to learn from this. It's time for him to learn, and at least say in that box that it isn't Major League Baseball's fault or the Padres' fault or this guy's fault or the cream maker's fault or ringworm's fault. I mean, let's get let's say, hey, he hopefully with these last two, say it out loud. Say hopefully since these bike accidents and this, this is the thing that shocks him. This is his rock bottom moment of I can't do this every day if I'm going to be the best of the best. And maybe he needs that. And sometimes that has to be said. You have to be told this is your bottom, dude. Like you're at your bottom and you're better than this and you're way better than this. And it's time to stop screwing around and sticking your chest out when you screw up and having other people run to point fingers at who should have been,
We're not pointing fingers until next week. Brown and Lawhead. Peace. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Brown and Lawhead. It's Friday. It's not Friday for you. It's Friday for us. Brown and Lawhead here on the Mightier 1090 ESPN, celebrating our second anniversary. It's our anniversary. Yeah. So much. Shout out to Bill Hagan for making all this possible and making things work. So many stories going on for me and Jason to get to. Netflix is doing a special about something that I think is funny that they think is serious. We'll go over that. LeBron signed a new deal. We'll break down some of that. And now there's another person defending TATIS. And this defense is probably the worst I've heard so far. We'll get into that. But before we really get into things, I want to always remind you guys, you can hear Jason and you can hear myself right here on the Mightier 1090 between the hours of 6 and 7, Monday through Wednesday. You can also check us out with everything that you miss on the iTunes podcast store and the YouTube channel under Kaplan and crew. What's up, Jason?
What up, man? It's our Friday, and it always comes too quick. I right when we get cooking, dude. This is like right when we go. It's like when you're doing stand up and you're doing it, and they're like, dude, only do like 10 tonight. You're on a list of guy, and you're used to doing long, and you're like, oh man, I'm just getting cooking now. I'm getting the light. We're getting the light right now. So,
oh, the light.
But anyway, good man.
So, the one thing that we can all relate to, if you're listening to this show, you can relate to what I'm about to express extreme frustration over, because I know that what's happening with Fernando Tatis is big news. I know LeBron getting a contract is big news, but I have something bigger I want to discuss with you guys today. I have something more important than those things that you can relate to. You, the individual. For fantasy football drafts this year, I'm going to give you one small nugget of advice that I have failed to take 2 years in a row, because I know the draft's coming up for a lot of people. Do not take Christian McCaffrey. Not because he's not good, because he is. He gets hurt every single year. And I mean, like, hurt to the point where it'll tank your season. Because that's what happened to me, okay? I had a bomb team, cornerstone, by one Christian McCaffrey, also known as CMC. Well, CMC cost me a TITLE because this fool was hurt all year long, bruh. All year long. And so as I'm getting these emails about fantasy football participation, I wanted to let everybody know, do not fall for the CMC this year. Draft somebody else. Dalvin Cook, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. Don't draft Ezekiel Elliott, but draft somebody who will be dependable, bruh, because he ain't it. I got that off my chest.
He's a 10, but he misses 8. That's the problem. Like you said, we were talking about that yesterday. He's a 10, but well, that's an interesting take. Yeah, I mean, with what Carolina has to prove, especially at quarterback, and even if he sticks around and plays the full season, there's still some, execution, getting him the ball, getting it, staying on the field, the offense staying on the field. The only way you get points in fantasy football, I don't know a ton about it. I played it back in the day. I stopped playing it because I ended up started hating players personally because they ruined my Monday morning or Tuesday morning. Guys that I actually like I drafted him because I liked him. Now I hate him and his whole family. So I stopped doing that because I got to adult, right? We were talking about that yesterday. But anyway, I still
Yeah.
like to know, like, oh man, how many points did he get? Like when I see a game, I am interested still from my days of playing with my boys back in the day and having some skin in the game. But I'm telling you right now, and this isn't even a homer. I would say this just as a guy analyzing everything. Get Nick Chubb early. Get him early because he's gonna get carries, and especially in the front end of that schedule. That defense, I think, is gonna be formidable and offer the offense a lot of chances to move the ball. And I think no matter if they gotta wait for Watson, Stefanski's gonna be committed to that even better offensive line now with Conklin back. And early on, the opponents they have, they're going to try to beat them on the defensive end and run the ball down their throat. Get Chubb. I got a Chubb for Chubb.
I got it. Whoa,
Hey,
whoa. I don't, again, I'm not saying who you should take. I'm just advertising for you
right.
not to take.
I'm just giving you my advice because you're throwing it
Right.
out there. You know more than me, but I'm sitting here right now as a unbiased spectator, obviously a little bit more in tune to what's going on in Cleveland as a fan, but that's my 2 cents. So if you need a little who to get, that's who I got.
So that's a little fantasy breakdown. I know everybody plays fantasy. Most people who take sports radio play fantasy football. It's literally, there are two things that have made the NFL a juggernaut and also uncatchable.
Who do you think is like
The
a
first,
steal, like an under the radar? Who do you think is somebody, if you had to offer advice, go get when he's hanging out there? Because who would you say that name is in fantasy this year?
I would say probably a guy like Jaden Waddle, because they got Tyreek Hill, so there's so much talk about Tyreek Hill, but Jalen
Right.
Waddle will get a lot of different looks that he didn't get last year.
Yep.
I think Devontae Smith is going to be in the same basket because he's going to get a lot of different looks now because they got AJ Brown. I usually try to I usually try to focus on two sections when I'm looking for a surprise player: a coach under a new offense,
Yeah.
and a rookie. Because a lot of people just gloss over rookies a lot, and because running backs don't get drafted very high anymore, those rookies tend to go under the radar. Like Kyle Pitts, the tight end that went to Atlanta, was available in like the 4th round in the draft that I was in the draft. I didn't have 14 people in it.
Wow.
So it's one of those things where if you don't know the league and if you don't know by the league, I mean the NFL and its players, some of the things that you should look for kind of to turn over some rocks, I would say any new offensive head coach, so the Dolphins got a new coach. He's an offensive guy. Those are the type of teams. The Jacksonville Jaguars got Buzz Peterson as their coach now. So he's an offensive guy, and they've got Trevor Lawrence. So those numbers are going to look different this year. And rookies. Those are the two things that I look for when it gets to the 4th, 5th round. And I'm like, I need to start taking somebody who I never heard of. So you can either let the machine do it, or you can take some ownership of it and kind of sharpen your football knowledge as well by kind of storming your own brain for those types of things. And so those are what I usually go for.
Yeah. I'm hoping for a big year out of just personally because I love the guy and I love his game is Saquon Barkley. I want him to stay on the field. And if
Man,
he's on the field,
if he could stay healthy, man.
yeah, he can put up some numbers because he catches the ball. He's used in a lot of different utilities. He's a big run breaker, and
he's a
got
3-down back.
Yeah, and he's got a nose for the goal line. So I'd love to see him be able to stay out there. And even if the Giants aren't that good, he's going to be a guy that if he's out on the field, he's going to get a ton of all-purpose yards for you, which is going to translate to a lot of points if he can get the ball in the end zone.
So let's kind of we'll save some of this space for serious stuff. But I gotta ask Netflix a question. Did we really need to know the real truth about the Manti Te'o story? For those of you who don't remember, Manti Te'o was a linebacker drafted by the Chargers. He played at Notre Dame. He was one of the faces of college football the year he played at Notre Dame. And somehow, some way, his personal life came into the news when it had appeared that he had been catfished. What is catfish? So catfishing is when you are tricked via social media or direct messaging by a person claiming to be someone else. Now, apparently, this is a massive problem on the internet. There's even a show on MTV called Catfish, and it is delicious. So, Manti Te'o basically gets catfished right around the time of Notre Dame, I think, being either in the BCS or somewhere near a really large bowl game. The story comes out, it's everywhere, and people are like, oh, wait, what? Which led me to ask this question. Bro, you played football at Notre Dame as a high-level recruit. You played football at Notre Dame as a national profile player. You can't get your girlfriend to come fly to see you? Like, you can't get her on FaceTime? Like, when this story broke way back when, I was like, oh, this is a hoax. Like, he set this up. There's no way a guy that famous collegiately on a campus of Notre Dame can't get a girl he can, I don't know, see in person. Like, what's happening here? What are we doing? And so now that Netflix has dug this whole thing up, I find this to be completely stupid and a waste of time. But they say it's about other things and not just him being catfish. And I say, I call them a liar.
Yeah, I don't have any interest in these kind of like the catfish thing. You know who got catfished the most that year was the voters in the polls, putting Notre Dame even in the BCS that year because they got absolutely ran over, and the whole evaluation on Manti Te'o as a player, it catfished everybody. So the biggest catfish victims was the BCS. The networks having to view that game that was just an absolute steamroll, and then the Chargers of that catfish. So people that get caught up in this in the internet, I mean, I'm sorry, like you're your own worst enemy if you're getting scammed by emails, if you're getting catfished by people, if you're, especially after it's been like, a couple of times to be like, okay, like I gotta see you. We gotta I mean, come on, right? Like,
that's the question.
At least Scientologists meet other Scientologists.
Yes.
They have lunch with them, coffee. There's a nice area, a park on the grounds where you can, get to know somebody or audit them, whatever they're,
either or.
But this is crazy, this catfishing, this whole fact that it is even an ecosystem that is enough to have shows on MTV, documentaries about it. It's like, good God, people, get a grip on just yourself. I mean, what is happening?
This is the Nigerian prince. Send me $5,000.
Yeah, exactly. And I got 50 grand waiting for you.
Yeah, I'll send you 50 grand for you. Like, bro, listen, if you can't see the person at all, something's not right.
No.
Like, I don't care how busy you are. And he was up talking to this person on the phone to like 2 a.m. at times. So like I just find it really strange that when you need to get somebody in today's technology, and back then they had like video chats. So it wasn't like it was 1984 he got catfished.
Yeah, exactly.
There was one house phone and your mom would pick up the house and like, get off the phone. This isn't that, dude.
Well, this wasn't even invented until the ability to be online and in chat rooms, right? Like, this was not. You had to go lie to somebody at a bar about your life. That was human contact. There was no other way to do this until technology gave it its absolute frontier to just run wild in.
Like, was he at parties at Notre Dame? Like, nah, I can't talk to you. I got a girlfriend. Like, oh, show me a picture. Well, she kind of private. She don't send me no pictures. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this guy's teammates, they had to laugh behind his back. Like, yo, she not real, bro.
Right.
She not real. She don't show. There ain't no pictures of her. We can't get her on video chat. We can't get her to come visit you at the national championship game, bro. She wouldn't fly in for the national championship game, fam, to sit with your family.
Was he in the
And you
Heisman
still,
voting? Wasn't he like
yes,
right? He was a
yes,
finalist for the Heisman, I think.
yes. I'm gonna
If
look
I
it up.
remember correctly, maybe maybe he won the Outland Trophy, and I'm just fogging in the whole. But like, I kind of remember thinking he was at the New York Athletic Club with like a lay on or wherever, like something from Hawaii, from his national, heritage, some type of
In
outfit or some sort.
in
I don't know.
2012, the Heisman candidates were Johnny Manziel,
Right?
Manti Te'o,
Yes.
and Colin Klein.
There it is.
Like,
He was he was like, that is a short list trivia question. If you were to say, how many defensive players have even been finalists that haven't won it? I mean, that's not a huge list. I mean, the list
short
is even
list.
smaller of defensive players that have won it, but the fact that he was there, and that's amazing. That yes, I was sitting there going, wait a minute, that dude was a finalist. How did they? How like I said before, who got fished here? I mean, yeah, we just had a third victim. BCS, the Chargers, and now the New York Athletic Club.
So Netflix might be on the list of getting catfish next.
Netflix
I don't know why.
is for it.
I don't know why they would even
Jeez,
entertain this
man.
stupidity. Like, people, if you're out there, this is the advice portion of the show, okay? If you can't meet the person face to face, don't send them money and don't call yourself in a relationship with them. There's enough people out here for you to walk outside, swing a cat, and hit somebody and be nice to them. It's that simple. It's literally that simple, man. So get off the computer.
Yeah, that's the
Get
thing.
out of the basement. Get out of the back room. Get out of the house. Meet living, breathing people. It's okay.
Get a catfish. Put it in an aquarium. Feed it. Do something normal.
God. Oh, man. I just don't. Anyway.
Go to a restaurant. Order catfish. And just
Go.
get Maybe you'll meet a waitress who's like, oh, you're cute, whatever. Like, who knows?
Sit at a bar.
Yes.
Meet somebody. Now, I mean, because also now there's straight, there's gay, there's LGBTQ plus. Like, there's everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's never been a time where there are more sexualities. Find one in real life that puts on shoes and goes out of the house. That's a person. Like, you can do it. I believe in you.
Oh, man.
This is absurd. Netflix, do better. I'm going to read the biography on this because I don't really understand. I don't understand why Netflix thought this was a good idea. I wish I could play the trailer. They would absolutely take us down. But I wish I could play the trailer for this because I guarantee you it's going to be terrible.
Well, there's so many. The thing is though, John, the thing is that there's such a voyeuristic culture when it has now, and then it's accelerated with social media and all the abilities to see things and to communicate in chat rooms or DMs or whatever, and try to figure out people you could never even see in real life, even if they are real. Behind that, you could even talk to them. So there's viewers that are just these people that are just on the internet too much that will watch this documentary.
So apparently, they're saying how Deadspin broke the story, and oh my god, it's called Untold. It's a 2-part series. Untold, the girlfriend who didn't exist. Get out of here!
Unbelievable. The girlfriend that didn't exist. Just digest that sentence right there as a title to a documentary. The girlfriend that didn't exist. How about the dummy who believed there was a girlfriend? How about that title? Right?
My wife, the ghost. What? What's my pet friend? My imaginary buddy. Like, I got a ton of titles for you, Netflix.
The imaginary friend who betrayed me.
The imaginary friend that murdered my mother.
Yeah.
Coming this fall to Netflix.
Oh my God.
Like, come on, dog. What are we doing here? Netflix, y'all better than this. Y'all really are. Y'all get $17 a month from me. I don't want this. This is not on something. This is the whole Jamie Foxx, Snoop Dogg vampire movie was pushing it. That was pushing it. Great man, great movie. Loved it on Netflix. This I won't watch.
Ugh.
I won't watch.
Ugh.
You lost me.
It's just all of it.
There was a small portion of something else I wanted to talk about before we got into the more serious brand of stuff, but I will spend this time here telling you guys that I will be at Lexus Kearney, the Lexus dealer in Kearney Mesa next weekend, the 27th of August. Scott and I will be there. There will be the Padres girls that are the Pod Squad is going to be there. There's going to be some fantastic giveaways. Bring your friends, bring your family. Who knows? You could walk out with a car. I know I need to walk out with a car, but there's going to be a lot of fun to be had there. There's going to be a lot of offers and options for you guys to take part in. There was supposed to be a TATIS jersey giveaway. Now, I say supposed to because I don't know now anymore. I don't know if they're still giving that away, but I hope that they can give away some deals that'll be on steroids. I don't know. They're going to pump you up. We got another half of this show. We're going to talk about LeBron's contract and what it means for the Lakers, what it means for LeBron, what it means moving forward. We're also going to get into I'm not going to call it a breakdown, but we're going to talk about the person who is now saying is actually the team or the person who says that the full blame of what happened with TATIS should not be on TATIS. It should be on someone else. Who that someone else is, we'll break down when we come back. Brown and Lawhead on the 2-year anniversary. This day, the 2-year anniversary of the relaunching of the Mightier 1090. Shout out to Bill Hagan. Mightier 1090 ESPN. More when we come back. Brown and Lawhead.